Hi, I'm Richard Randall, and welcome to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker, the owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. This is the weekly radio show that informs and educates you on how to buy or sell real estate with Colorado's Real Estate Authority, Barb Schlinker. Barb's a retired Navy veteran. Barb's also an author, and she is a pilot as well. Barb and her team enjoy all that Colorado and the Front Range have to offer. Barb, always great to be talking with you. Now, we air Your Real Estate Voice every Saturday. If you can't listen to the entire show, it is always available on Barb's site, barbhasthebuyers.com, or just search Barb. You'll find her on most of the popular podcast platforms like iHeartRadio. So, Barb, what are the topics we'll be covering today?
Well, Richard, I'm excited about today's show because we're going to talk about a couple of things. The first one is how to really accurately figure out the value of a house before you sell it in Colorado. It's definitely a science to do that. And right now, with the market being just a little nervous, I guess is probably the best word I can use for it. Sometimes if you look at historic sales, and you think, well, that home's like mine and that home sold for that much, therefore mine should. Okay, great. But that doesn't translate necessarily to today. So a lot of things affect buyer activity. One of them is the number of available homes. Just in the past couple of months, it surged up by 31%. Yet the volume of sales is actually about the same or a little bit less than a year ago. So we're going to deep dive into that. And then the next topic we're going to talk about is how to fix your credit before you buy a house. And I think this is important for everybody, not just people doing real estate, simply because credit really affects a lot of things that you do. It's sometimes they run your credit if you use your debit card to rent a car. Did you know that, Richard?
I had no idea that they did that.
Yeah, they run credit checks for that. They run credit checks when you're buying homeowners insurance. I mean, it's or even, auto insurance. It's really interesting how far and wide the credit score matters financially for people. So we're going to get into that. And then we're also going to talk about some of the top tips to increase the sales price of your house, which a lot of people ask us that question. What do we need to do before we put our house on the market? And last but not least, go back to this subject because it's coming up very soon. The National Association of Realtors had a lawsuit settlement where they had to pay a bazillion dollars, 418 million, because of antitrust and price fixing over commission. And there's a lot to that story, but suffice it to say that as it stands right now, how much commission the seller is offering to pay the buyer's agent is advertised in the listing services for the agents. It's also advertised publicly. And so what's going to happen here on the 17th is no longer is that information going to be made available in the MLS. And all of a sudden, the agents representing a buyer are going to have to actually negotiate for their fee and get in writing before they show a home how they're going to get paid. And so it's going to start begging the question for consumers. So what do they do? And how much do you want me to pay you for that? And who's going to pay it? So it's going to be really interesting. I'm excited about the changes because it's going to force the agents to really sharpen their skills. And I think that's a good thing. And as always, we're going to talk about hot new listings. Richard?
So, Barb, as fewer people bought homes in recent years due to the higher interest rates, how do home sellers accurately determine what their home will sell for here on the Front Range?
Well, pricing to me is an art and it's a craft. It takes a lot of thought and a little bit of courage, especially if you price on the low side of the market, because the fear for most home sellers, if they price it too low, will I leave money on the table? But actually, that's not true. The market, if it's a high demand property, will always drive the price up to whatever the market's willing to pay. But it's hard to anticipate that. It's a guess. And it is a piece of marketing. At the end of the day, because everything is available online. If a buyer says, oh, look at that house, I like that picture, they can look at all the sales around it based on what's presented on many, many big box websites all across the country. So the consumers have gotten a lot smarter. When I first started in the real estate business, they were starting to put things online, but it wasn't as prominent as it is now. We didn't have Zillow, we didn't have Realtor.com. And basically, in order to go see a house that was offered for sale, it was all kept by the real estate agent. So you had to go meet with a real estate agent, you had to tell them what you want, and they controlled what they would show to you. Unlike what's happening now, is that the buyers are deciding based on what's presented online which houses they want to go see. And price is one of those factors for sure. If it looks too high and they're finding better deals around it in that price range, the buyers won't even go look at it. And that's how you can tell if you're wrong in your pricing. If you're not getting very many showings, you're still priced too high. I hate to say it, but unless the marketing is really bad, which fortunately over the years, most of the agents have finally embraced professional photography. Not all of them. I still catch a few that use their smartphone. They're too cheap to spend $250 to get professional photos taken of the house. And they use their smartphone. You can tell because the photos are very narrow, like an iPhone picture. And it's like, come on, because it makes a difference. Buyers buy on emotion. You have to get the love, get them to want to come look at it. But if you don't have good pictures, they won't do it. They won't leave their fuzzy bunny slippers and even drive by the house if the whole package doesn't look attractive to them. And the most important one of all of those absolutely is price, followed by marketing. So to get the price right, you really have to hire somebody that has the experience to look at the market in a lot of different ways and determine what is a good asking price for the home, and the expertise to guide you in making that decision, plus market knowledge. The market is actually, I got this question last night in front of a seller, and he was worried about the election. I'm sure, Richard, you're hearing that a lot, right? People are kind of confused.
People are very confused and they're very concerned.
Yeah. So it's like, well, should I invest in one of the biggest investments that I'm going to make, which is in a house? I need a house. So it creates a little bit of uncertainty on the buyer side and also on the seller side. Should I wait until this whole election is over before I put my house on the market? There's a lot of worry about that. And, you know, I told him not to worry. And the reason why, I've been doing this since 1996 is when I first got my license. And so I've seen a lot of market period ups and downs. The first one was the very sad event of 9/11. At that time, the market kind of went flat. And it took about 8 months for things to really start rocking and rolling again. And then, of course, it was the meltdown that everybody knows about that really happened between 2007 and 2008. For me, it happened at one closing in May of 2007. I was sitting there at the closing table, and I had known that things were kind of messed up because I go to coaching events and training with some of the top agents all around the country, and they were telling me interesting stories, like Phoenix was crashing like an elevator. The East Coast, one agent told me that he goes, my clients were really upset that the appreciation was only 24% and not 30% in 1 year. And I'm like, oh my God, we never get that kind of appreciation here. So yeah, I knew things were changing, but I didn't know until I was sitting down at the closing table. And at the time, we had both the buyers and the sellers in the room at the same time. It doesn't happen as much anymore just because of convenience, but it could still. So we're in the room, and the title closer came out and said, okay, well, the lender is working on a intent letter. And as soon as we get that, we're expecting it within the hour, then it's all going to be good and we'll be able to close. So the seller, who I was representing, was going to buy another house with his net proceeds, and the buyer was there to buy. So finally, an hour goes by, and the seller or the title closer comes out and says, "I'm very sorry, but the lender just went out of business." And I'm like, whoa, I've never seen anything like that happen before. But the mortgage broker was ready. He pivoted very quickly to another lender, and we actually got it done in a few days. But that was a clue that something was wrong. So that was 2007. And it took until 2008 for the market values to change, bringing me back to my point of, will this temporary election thing affect the market that much? And it takes a long time to turn this real estate ship around. The only thing that makes it move fast is big surges in interest rates, which we saw at the end of 2022. But as of today, the rates are down for conventional 6.34 and into the fives for VA and FHA. So it's a good time to buy for buyers. And when we saw rates like that last spring, last year, 2023 spring, for 5 months, the prices went up. So this is a great time to sell, and it's a great time to buy. Does that make sense, Richard?
Indeed, it does. I mean, that's one of the reasons that your analysis is the main reason I recommend people to go to you. You got a couple of decades of experience, and then you break this down so that the average person, including me, can understand it.
Well, thank you. And so my name is Barb Schlinker. I'm the broker owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty and the host of this show, Real Estate Voice. And we're talking about why pricing is so important, and pricing realistically, more importantly, is very important. We just closed one yesterday. It was a beautiful home in Briargate that had great views that she priced very realistically, and we sold it for $55,000 over asking price in just a week. So it can be done, and you just got to get the right team member to help you. Richard?
Listening to Your Real Estate Voice. That's Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. She's the host of the program. And if you are thinking of making a move, call her. Barb is at 719-301-3900 or visit barbhasthebuyers.com. We'll take a short break. When we come back, we're going to be talking about how to fix your credit score before you buy a home. You don't want to miss that.